This is just to show you that we can store DNA and RNA on these things. This is data just showing, the control would be, so our error bars are large because at the far end, because we're testing over a whole bunch of straws. We can only elute, each straw once. So if one doesn't work, you get a big error bar, and you can also get more than 100% because some of them are, because there's errors in your real-time PCR, right? You're never going to have the same standard curve every time. But suffice it to say, obviously with DNA, this is DNA in buffer. When we do this in buffer, of course, at minus 80 over time, we're able to keep up to 20% over a month on the straw. As we bring the temperature up, we don't do as well, but it's still PCRable at this point, and we can still determine based on this kind of curve how much DNA was there originally, knowing how much of the how much we put on the first place. And with RNA, we've done the same thing. We've done it stabilized and unstabilized. The stabilization reagent is just a polymer that kind of shrink wraps the RNA in place on that column. And then minus 80, 25, and 37 degrees C, stabilized with RNA. We can go out to 4 weeks at 37 in the incubator and still get PCRable RNA back. When you start doing this with whole blood, we have at this point, I don't have the data. The results aren't quite as good, but surprisingly, it's at the curve just shifts down, but you still have some PCRable product at the end. So how does this thing work? Quickly in like 3 minutes. 2 minutes and 1 second. Can I do it that fast? I don't know. So it comes in a little case, like my students put together. But really, in real life, this part right here that's attached to the tubing would be disposable. It would be in a little packet. You would open it up for each patient, and it would fit into some kind of a stand. And the only thing this stand does is it attaches to the bicycle pump so that I can pump this up to 40 psi so that I can get the reagents to go through the column without having to plug in anywhere. So the first thing that you do is, Paul's not here so I can't use your finger. You take the lancet and you prick someone's finger. This is designed for a 250 microliter assay right now, and then we're diluting it about 1 to 4 inside the chamber, but it can be scaled up. Once the person has the blood drop, we have basically this is just a simple capillary tube that's coated with EDTA on the inside, and it's fitted inside this larger piece of plastic so that we can have the lure lock on the end of it so that we can click it in. So you touch that. If you hold it long enough, you can see when 250 microliters is filled, which is somewhat hard. Those of you who are docs know that's somewhat hard to get for all folks. So that may be a design issue. You stick it into SNAP, we call this SNAP, System for Nucleic Acid Preparation. Then you come through with your first reagent. The reagents are stored in these are rapid prototypes, so they're a little bit falling apart here. But they're stored basically with a holder on it so that the syringes are stored open so they can't be closed, and so that once you take this holder off, you can't use the syringe again. So the syringe with the lysis buffer then fits into a lure lock. You push that in, and now what you have is the blood is mixed with the lysis buffer inside of one of those first chambers. And then you take off this whole thing, which now, of course you're having gloves on, which now any blood that was in there was mixed already with lysis buffer. It goes into the waste. Okay. Then you pump this up to 40 psi, and there's a little dial on there that tells you 40 psi. It takes around 5 minutes for the sample to get pushed through the lysis column. The DNA or the RNA is binding on the lysis column or on the solid phase extraction column while that's happening. And you can watch the pressure gauge fall a little bit as the fluid flows through, and it's visual. You can see it stop. And the second thing you do is you take out your second reagent, which is also in one of these nifty syringes with a syringe holder, and you stick that onto the lure lock, and then this guy is the wash buffer. You push that in. It's a one-way valve. The wash buffer goes in, and you wait for that to flush through as well. And if you're dealing with DNA, all you have to do is basically let it sit there because it's going to dry. So the air is going to go over the column as it dries. If you're dealing with RNA, you have a third syringe that you go through that puts the preservative on and you're done. So once you're finished, in the real life in the demo situation, you obviously have to remove this tubing, and now you have waste, because where was all that fluid going, right? It's going into this waste container. And then my students gave me a little cat from my waste, which I'm going to throw also into the biohazard waste. And then this guy with the monolith attached to it and the inner workings, anything that's touched the patient's blood can get shipped. So we're right now deciding whether or not we want to ship the entire thing with the chambers on it. Or, I mean, it looks bulky here, but it's actually only, if you look at the inside parts, it's not that large. Or if we want to pull the straw out or the extraction column out and just ship that. So that's SNAP, and I just wanted to demonstrate, you know, this is still now, you know, 2 weeks from now we're going to take this and show it to real people in Nicaragua who might want to help us use it. And we can do whole blood samples with it now. So within the next 6 to 12 weeks, we'll hopefully have some testing done on mock real blood samples with actual input from real users telling us, no, it's way too many steps, or I can't, one of my things is I can't push this bicycle pump up to 40 psi without straining because of the size and shape of the pump, right? So there are a lot of cost, benefit, design, industrial design, you know, who are the constituents, who are the people who are going to use this thing, input that we need at this point. So that's all I have to say, except, since I'm out of time, except for the folks who work on it up at the top. Really, Jake Trube and Samantha Burns are the drivers behind this. They're the folks who are doing all the molecular biology and building this instrument right now. And my collaborators at Fraunhofer and MIT, and then PATH, of course, for funding this project currently. Thanks.